I mean, it's the classic crawl before you walk before you run.
Yeah.
And put an example, like my son just learned how to walk in like the last month, and he falls at least 30 times a day, and he just
Yeah.
rolls over, gets back up.
Yep.
It just rolls over, gets back up. He doesn't cry about it. He said, "Oh, like you said,
Mhm.
he knows that he doesn't have the balance, and he knows he's gonna fall, but he's just gonna keep trying because he wants to walk. So if you
Yeah.
want something enough, you're gonna keep going through falling, getting up, falling, getting up, falling, getting up, and next thing you know, taking off.
Yeah. And that's actually that right there is a you know huge mistake that people make, thinking that like you're gonna get it right the first time.
Yeah, nobody does.
Right? Nobody does.
Nobody does. I mean,
If you do, like,
good
a
on
little bit of
you.
luck, natural talent, good on you.
Yeah,
But
for,
but
for,
again,
for,
I
for,
mean,
for everybody else in the world.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I really could, like, I could talk for hours about, okay, I tried this and it failed. I mean, I do so with regard to social media, right? I mean, that's like kind of seeing stuff in real time, and kind of really what you do as well, like with like email marketing, right? You can see what works and what doesn't,
Yeah.
and that's you know you can't get discouraged, right? So if the frustrating thing, and I don't really for the life of me understand any of these social media algorithms, right?
Yeah.
But I I know that if I'm going to spend more than an hour or two on a social media post, be it a video or writing copy or editing photos and stuff, the more time I spend on it, the worse it does. And I don't understand it. I really don't. I don't. And I don't know if it's like hashtags or just the time of day I'm posting. But then I'll throw stuff up there, a lot of stuff on my personal account, and the other day I literally just took a 3 or 4 second video of me staring at the camera with a little bit of text above me, and the thing went for like 20,000 views. It's it took me 30 seconds to post. It's
Oh man.
it, it's ridiculous. I mean, I know we're getting off topic with the learning from your mistakes, but um, yeah, it's just
I mean, well, I mean, it's still learning because, like you said, it's learning in real
yeah,
time.
yep,
And it's ways to, I guess, to your point. I've tried to build up social media, and I've tried to be very educational, and then I tried to be funny,
yeah,
and then I've tried to be this. I've tried to be this. I'm just like it just doesn't work. And
yeah,
it's like can you catch the right person to retweet or repost what you're saying? Boom, you get 1,000 followers.
yeah,
I on LinkedIn, built a little following on LinkedIn, posting here and there, and I post something very informative. Top 5 copywriting mistakes, and something actionable. Somebody can use it. Cool. 7 people like it. And then I do a post about how my real name is Marcus and not Doug, and then it gets like 100,000 views. It's like this doesn't help anybody, and like
no,
hundreds of people liked it, and cool. My name is Marcus, whatever. I just felt like saying it that day, but
yeah,
I actually try to help people. Nobody cares, you know.
yeah,
So like I said,
yeah,
don't know the social media algorithm, but it goes back to keep trying,
yes,
keep posting, staying consistent,
without a
keep
doubt.
trying, you know.
And that's another thing. And I read a while ago. I read an article about YouTubers and successful YouTubers,
Yeah,
um, and just the amount of content they have to crank out, right?
yeah,
And then it has to be consistent. Even kind of like the voice and the themes like need to be like, you really need to pick some sort of niche, right? Um, and then of course TikTok comes in and just blows all of that out of the water, because like nothing's curated. I think what it's the latest thing on TikTok is this Biscuit song. So there was the corn song
yeah.
that was like 1 or 2 weeks ago. Now this like little kid's a celebrity, which is crazy. But now
Yeah.
there's this Taste the Biscuit song, and it just makes no sense. But I do have a friend who has he's an orthodontist, but he's also become a TikToker, and I think he's got like 3 or 4 million followers,
Wow.
and the stuff he does is interesting.
It has to
um,
be. Yeah.
I say that with it's interesting. Um, Nothing risque. I think he wanted to be kind of like a dark humor
Yeah.
TikToker, which again, there's all of these corners of TikTok. But he's also putting out 3 4 posts a day, and
Cranking.
it's just it's consistent. I don't know that much any of it's a real value add, but it's just insane, like the amount of work. And he goes on Facebook, he talks about it. He's like I grind. And I guess that's what kind of makes him happy.
Yeah.
um but it's like it's hard, right? I mean, and so personally, I again, over the past 10 years, kind of pitfalls, marketing pitfalls, growth pitfalls. You need people too. I mean that's the thing, is like you you can't really discount the value of human capital, right? um
Okay.
but you got to find the right people too. So how do you do that, especially now too? I mean, everyone is kind of fat and happy, or everyone is like, I have a specific occupation that I want to have, and I do not want to do anything else, and I will hold out until
Yeah.
I find that. Everyone says, oh, nobody wants to work, and there's part of me that's like, feels that, where it's like, you look at, you go to a restaurant and no one's working, but then you talk to the servers, you talk to the chefs, and they're like, well, we don't want to work there because it's a toxic work environment,
Yeah.
and the pay is shit, and all the rest. um, but but it's hard to find people. It's really hard to find people that are really aligned with your vision, when it's not theirs.
Yeah.
um, and then too, when they realize that, like, entrepreneurship is a grind, is an absolute grind, because you don't have one specific job function, right?
No.
So I'll give you an example of my day today, right? So wake up, I have a bunch of deliveries to do tomorrow, so I've got to invoice those deliveries. Okay. Now, since I'm in the accounting software, like, now I've got to deposit a couple of checks since I'm there. Okay, so that's, and all this stuff kind of takes time, because the you know the customer I'm invoicing, like, I have to go in their portal, and then at the same time I've started working with an Amazon account manager, and they're sending me stuff like, you got to read the copy so we can get the listings going. Oh, and by the way, since we're doing fulfillment by Amazon, we have to get product to the fulfillment center like immediately. And then I'm looking through my inventory, I'm like, oh shit, I'm going to run out of jerky. And then, so what am I going to do with my direct to consumer people or the other wholesale customers? And so it's just like, and then in all of that, it's okay, well, what am I doing to promote today? Right? Like, am I going to do a social media post? Am I going to write an email? And then, your head could explode. And then it's, then, okay, well, now I got to talk to the accountant, because, third quarter is about to end, or it ended, and
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know. I'm like running a million miles an hour. So um, I need people. That's a mistake. I made the mistake of thinking that I could do it all by myself while working full time.
Uh, yeah, I mean, and that hits home. Well, thank you for taking the time to talk to me. Really appreciate it. But I mean, but it hits home. It's like, and I think the lesson there for me, as I hear, is that don't underestimate what it's gonna take. Like, a lot of people they look on social media, they look on the people like I said that are fat and happy, you know, like boom, I have Ferraris, I'm taking a 6 week vacation because just because I can, and you know things like that. And it's like either they're really really lucky and they're social media influencer, they get paid to post on social media, great for them, awesome. But for everybody else who's not as pretty and not as popular, um, it's you don't see all the work that it goes into to curate, to create content, to be the owner of a business, to be a founder, to get it up and to sell, market, service, account, finance, everything until you get off the ground. And like you said, having those people that will help with no financial incentive at the start is extremely tough,
Yeah,
because it goes back to what you're saying. Nobody's going to be as aligned as you as a founder, and so you'd have to
yeah,
have some really good friends or some people that happen to love jerky just as much as you do.
right,
And
right.
how do you find them? How do you find
Yeah,
them?
yeah. It is very difficult, and I'm certainly thankful I've had a considerable amount of help along the way. Um, but really, what I would like to do is to get to a point where like I can, start paying people. So like then it's like, okay, well then this becomes their job. So then they're now tied to some sort of incentivization
Yeah,
to, learn the business, grow the business, sell, get out there and really kind of sell this dream. Um, and yeah, and that's kind of, I'm like here and like, do I want to just take that leap? Right. It's, it's a tough choice.
it is. I'm in a similar position myself because, like I said, I've been freelancing, and I just started hiring graphic designers and hiring copywriters and whatnot. And it's just like one, letting go to let somebody else fulfill on something, because everybody swears I'm the best. Nobody can do it as good as I can. Okay, that's not true. There's other people that can do. You're not the only smart one in the world. But also, it's like putting the process and the structure in place to plug other people in, and
Yeah.
to take a lot of that uncertainty of bringing somebody else on. Like
Yeah.
I bring other people on. It's a big responsibility. It's like they have families, and you also have to be respectful of it. So you don't want to be a jerk if they're not performing, but you also don't want to take the risk of wasting money with somebody for not performing. And it's
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah. And there's no crystal ball there, right?
none.
Because because they could be so fired up to be a part of the organization, right?
Yeah,
And they could, you know, mission statement, goals, everything aligned. But then once they get in there and they realize that maybe it's not for them, then okay, well, they're still getting a paycheck. Uh, but are they kind of working to their full potential, which that's what you want
yeah.
as a business owner, as a, um, but yeah, it's,
No crystal ball.
it is, it's a real challenge.
Yeah, and the other thing is, on the other side of that, I worked with somebody, helped them hire somebody, and they were young, had all the passion. They worked 12-hour days just because they wanted to prove themselves, and their full potential wasn't what we needed. So like they did nothing wrong. They just did it. They just
Right.
weren't there yet
Yep.
to
Yeah.
deliver. So it's just like, all right, so we're going back and we're spending more time with this person than we were spending just doing it ourselves. So
Yeah.
having to let that, so it goes back to there's no crystal ball. There's multiple situations that can happen. You could have the right person and they don't want to do it. You could have the wrong person but they love to do it, and it's so on and so forth. So it's
Yeah.
so many things.
I would rather have the wrong person that wants to do it, though.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because
I
that's
think,
character right there.
yeah. I mean, that's, look, the kind of overqualified and entitled employee is always a challenge, because they're they're not going to be willing to kind of go that extra little bit and say, okay, well, that's not in my job description, but I'm going to do it anyways because I believe in
Yeah,
this product or this company or
yeah,
whatever. Um, but another big pitfall This is the big pitfall inaugural episode. So hopefully I don't use up everybody else's big mistakes. Infrastructure, right? So again, I'm doing this as a side hustle. Everything's ad hoc, but I would also recommend just recognizing the value of having processes in place, right? Like the all of like the back office stuff, right? So like inventory management, like build out a spreadsheet that kind of tracks your inventory, because stocking out is an issue, is a problem, because when people want whatever product you have, they want it immediately. That's the society we live in now,
Yep.
right?
Buy with pride.
Again, the cap table, right? Like, manage the stakeholders, the accounting, same thing, good, same thing as the inventory management. So I had QuickBooks, again, doing everything pretty ad hoc. You get to a certain point where things just get like so messy, you don't know what's going where. So finally, it's like I just hired an accountant, got everything cleaned up. Now everything's running great, but you have to, as being a creative, right? So what you do is kind of in that creative space. Consumer packaged goods, creative food, what have you. So, for me, even though I do have an engineering degree, I would say that I'm definitely a little more left brained than right brained. And I do skew creative. So all that other stuff's kind of boring, but it's so necessary. It is so absolutely necessary. And what it will do, that organization, right? Alton Brown, from Food Network, said it a long time ago. He said, organization will set you free. And he's totally right. Like, if you have processes in place, then you can kind of go about like being creative and doing things, because that you've got kind of an organized, all the housekeeping stuff is taken care of.
Yeah. And you'll be able to sort of step back and plug people into it rather than.
And then that goes back to the human capital thing. So
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Marcos, it's been great. It's been great. If we could leave the listeners with one sentence that you would want them to take from your learning, like what would you say?
It's a good. This is a good question. Now, I usually leave these things with, if you are interested in trying something out, right, and it's just kind of nags at you constantly, there's no reason why you shouldn't go out and do it. Now, again, you've got to look at the barriers to entry, but we live in a world where you have so much accessibility to so many things, right? I mean, if you think about just like software and smartphones, and like even accessibility to products, right? So like, jerky was easy because you just need beef and a food dehydrator, right? For the most part,
yeah,
right? But it's also a challenge because when you want to scale up, right? So now you need to either find a USDA inspected facility to produce the jerky, or I need to build my own, and that's millions of dollars,
yeah.
right? But I think no matter what that passion project is, there's always a way to dip your toes in the water. And so I would say dip your toes in the water, because what's going to wind up happening is you're going to love it to the point where you will figure it out. Or you'll say, oh, you know what? That actually didn't really make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah. So just do it. Nike.
Yeah. Nike.
All right. Thanks, Marcos, for your time.
Of course.
Going to the first episode, and we will see you all next time.
All right. Thanks for having me.
All right.